The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Tuesday, the 20th day of September, 2022. Welcome to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House, One Communications, and Lindos. I'm Jamal Hartman. He's Larry Marshall Jr., and Maya Palacio will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in her news break, brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Long weekend. Well, hold on. You had a long weekend, Bert?
Oh, I had a long weekend.
Oh, okay. Long weekend for you, long weekend for most people. I wonder what everyone did on their holiday.
I know myself. I took advantage and relaxed and got caught up on a few shows.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, folks, I'm on my best behavior these days. I run a year older, so you're not getting that what you think you got before. But I just want to say, before anyone asks, nope, I saw absolutely nothing of the funeral. I didn't. I did not see much. Like, a friend of mine who tunes into this show texted me to make me want to read the article she was sending. And truthfully, honestly, it wasn't about not being interested or being disrespectful. I literally had to work, and I had it was so busy. I didn't have time. Now, some people may say, well, if it was football, well, that's because I'm interested in football. So no, I honestly, just respectfully did not see anything related to the Queen's funeral. But I will respectfully say, loss of life is never something to take for granted or be sad. Having lost my mother earlier this year, and for that, my condolences with the family, friends, and those who mourn the loss of anyone, including Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth. That said, we have a show happening today. So greetings, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we welcome Antoine Jones on to discuss his experience in the BEDC's Summer Student Entrepreneur Program. The Daily Play is a remember when, so a bit of history for Larry Marshall Jr. over there. But folks, I hit Larry up yesterday. I said, hey, Bert, Sir John made some comments last week, right, about independence. I see, Bert and I were going at it before we came on air. I said, well, let's save it for on air because he has a point. I kind of have a different point about it. So we were actually going to discuss Sir John, his title in the Royal Gazette last week. Now is not the time to consider independence, says Sir John. Now, keep in mind, Sir John in the mid-90s tried to lead Bermuda to independence through a referendum. And then last evening, there's a whole bunch of uproar, I guess, regarding Premier of Bermuda, David Burt, quote, small little quote, our next step is certainly to be a sovereign state. Let's read the question and then let's go into explaining, I guess, our perspective. So, question of the morning: when will be the right time for Bermuda to consider independence? When will be the right time for Bermuda to consider independence? That's your question this morning. When will be the right time for Bermuda? Now, let's go to Premier Burt. All right. So Premier Burt, I'm reading from the Royal Gazette, spoke about Bermuda's desire to become a sovereign state during an on-camera interview with the British Broadcasting Corporation, the day of Queen Elizabeth II's state funeral. Mr. Burt paid tribute to the Queen, and in response to a question about how relevant the monarchy remains in Bermuda in 2022, he responded, quote, I think that this is a day for reflection of the Queen's long life and service, but I would say that our relations are with the United Kingdom government, and it is for the United Kingdom themselves to choose their path. Quote, our next step is certainly to be a sovereign state, and whatever form that sovereignty takes will be a matter for discussion on another day, but today was a day to reflect on the Queen's life and service. So for me, truthfully, this is the first time I actually read it, right? I don't see the issue with what he said, personally. I put, and folks, you know, me and Brother Premier Burke, we don't see eye to eye. We could be in the same place and not communicate at this point. But fair is fair. I honestly do not see what I mean, mind you, he probably, okay, Burke, he could have said the relationships between Bermuda and the United Kingdom, not the monarchy, and just left it there. Maybe that's where the issue is. But let's define sovereign state, because there are people who don't understand what that means. So I'm on thoughtco.com. So let's define it. A state is a territory with its own institutions and populations. A sovereign state is a state with its own institutions and populations that has a permanent population, territory, and government. It must also have the right and capacity to make treaties and other agreements with other states. So that's what a sovereign state is, according to thoughtco.com. Sovereign state is a space or territory that has internationally recognized boundaries, people who live there on an ongoing basis, regulations governing foreign and domestic trade, the ability to issue legal tender that is recognized across boundaries, an internationally recognized government that provides public services and police power, that has the right to make treaties, wage war, and take other actions on behalf of its people. Sovereign meaning that no other state should have power over the country's territory. So that's a sovereign state. It's a form of independence. All right. So before we get into it, I know I'm talking a lot. Sir John then says, last week, now was not the time to consider independence. Sir John Swan, I believe it was 1995. Yeah. He tried to take the island to independence through a referendum, as stated earlier, and 73% of the people who turned out for the referendum said basically no. The former premier, Sir John Swan, doesn't believe that Bermuda's in a space to go independent right now. He said the world is right now is in turmoil. There's so much uncertainty out there. We don't know what alignments are going to take place, what conditions will exist in terms of economic conditions, climate change, security issues, particularly with us being in the middle of the Atlantic all by ourselves. We know that the Americans would like for Bermuda to at least keep some ties with Britain, which they have very much close relationship with, right? They have a close relationship with. So he says, I don't think the time, this is the time for us to now go independent. We have so many other issues to deal with. It will cost us more money, more time, more human resources that we know we have limited supply of. I don't know. I don't think that this is the time right now for us to consider independence as much as we should do. He said, we need to try to make sure we get our house in order and keep it in order for us to meet our commitments to the people of Bermuda. Some other dependent territories might decide that they need to do it for various reasons. Folks, you've heard Sir John, you've heard the Honorable Premier David Burke. When will be the right time for Bermuda to consider independence? That's your question.
Well, that was a lot just now, Jamal.
Yeah.
Well, for the first thing I must say, these headlines can be misleading. We must read the articles if you really want to get the true context of things. Before I answer your question, I think that the premier handled that question very well. I think people kind of made it to seem like he was trying to take advantage of this opportunity to punch for independence, when all he was doing was simply answering a question, got to the point and moved on, and said that it was not the right time for it. So credit to him. And sometimes he got so hard done a lot of on his own doing, but I think he got that one right. As far as the opportunity, or when should you consider? Let's use the examples of finance or
Mhm.
fitness or schooling. It's always the time to consider it.
Mhm.
Whether you start it or not, you should be considering it. Oh,
Mhm.
I'm gonna, because what do? You always put it back. I'm gonna start saving next year. I'm gonna
Mhm.
start saving in after 3 months. I'm gonna get fit this next week, and let me just eat this last cheeseburger,
Mhm.
right? So for sorry, June to say that we shouldn't consider it, I find it to be it's almost like we're living in a stagnant space.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, we should always be looking to do it. To his point, I can give him a point where he said, hey, we're not in that space. We need to take care of our own house and whatnot. But that should be with the goal, in my opinion, of looking to be a sovereign state or a level of independence. And I think it becomes the first thing people will look at is about 30 years ago, you wanted to be independent. And I am truly, if he was in power this day, he would not be saying that. He would want to be independent.
Mhm.
Also, I do recognize that I think he thinks that if he was in charge right now, Bermuda would be in a better place. I
Mhm.
give him
For
that.
for sure.
But at the end of the day, we should always be in a position where we are ready for independence because I can only speak for myself. Others may feel different. Uh, what you read when you gave the definition of sovereignty, that's what I think the Bermuda and Bermuda people should be striving towards.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's a couple things. And I know that Sir John did want independence for Bermuda in the mid 90s and he took us towards a referendum, but people's minds changed, things changed. I mean, folks, back in the late 2000s, I was that person in the PLP's delegates conference against the legalization or decriminalization of weed, marijuana, however you want to call it. Now I would be one of the biggest proponents for various reasons. So we're allowed to change our minds. And I think based on where the world's at and based on where the economy is at, I can understand why someone like Sir John feels differently. I can understand why people have reservations that maybe didn't have reservations before. Let's go to the comments. We've got Sean Smith. He says, when King Charles kicks us out. Now, he's laughing, but this is a serious comment. I remember a minister at the time who's still a government minister today saying to me in the late 2000s, it was like 2008 and I was in between minds whether to apply for a UK passport at the time. And this government minister said to me, well, you better get it now because, at any point, the UK could kick us to the curb. And I've said for years, independence or sovereignty, it may not be our decision.
Mm.
When they have no use for us. So I want people to kind of understand that. I want to say this, and this is not to criticize anyone, it's just to make people think. One of the challenges when fighting conscription was you could be telling the truth about how bad the law was. But because so many black men went there, they didn't want to believe they were slaves. They didn't want to believe that they got duped. They didn't want to believe that I gave up my rights easily. Nobody wants to believe they're gullible.
Yeah.
No one wants to believe that they got played. Let's be honest. When it comes to the idea of independence, I've read a lot of books, folks. Some of the books that have stories of enslaved people, right? And one of the consistent things in those books, is some of the enslaved people telling the stories of how the infighting with those who did not want their freedom. Look where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
There were people who were enslaved, getting whipped and working 20-hour days on the cotton field. They didn't want freedom. Do you know why they didn't want freedom? Because they were afraid of being without room, board, and what they felt was what they knew, the
Yeah.
norms, having some place to stay, take care of their families. So I say that to people who say they're scared or don't want independence. I completely understand. I think Bermuda is in a spot where anyone would question it. But you do understand you're no different really, in thought at least.
Yeah.
From those same people. Like, you're scared of being in charge of your own destiny.
Yeah. The same with the people that quote Martin Luther King and Malcolm X a troublemaker.
Yeah.
Just let it be. The
Yeah.
Northerners, look, we don't want no problems. There's it's the same thought that's behind it. And I think my biggest concern, I am a full proponent for independence.
Mhm.
And I think my biggest concern is that I think the only way for it to work is the people, and I think the people do not know how to hold a government accountable. So how are they going to hold them accountable when we're independent? That's my fear.
Well, and I think I think independence is more of the people rather than the politicians. Let's go to the comments. We've got Philip Trott says it's never the right time, Jamel. When things are going well, why rock the boat? When things are going bad, it's too risky right now. Yeah, absolutely correct. Dr. King, I believe it was Dr. King who said. Let's see. Dr. King said the time is always right to do what is right, and your ability, your freedom is a right. It should always be time. Michelle White says, I'm on a train right now. Comments too long, sorry, Michelle. I'm on a train right now, so may drop off. Okay, thank you. The right time for independence or sovereignty is not now. That doesn't appear to be a plan. Yes, shouting it. Show me a plan, help me and my community understand it, and then we can have a conversation. At this time, my fear is that we have more to lose than gain, and I'm open to conversation. I don't,
But
again, go ahead.
that is considering though. You know what I mean? I think the word to say not consider is where I'm against. If you're hesitant, I completely get it. You don't have to be on the same page that I am or you, Ian. But I think it also always should be a consideration.
Correct. I think it should be top of mind to consider. But again, I understand people's reservations based on what we're seeing as far as governance. But the idea is that should always be the aim. It should always be the aim. Now, I like the way Michelle White put it out there. It's like, hey, it seems like we have more to lose than to gain. Well, if I'm the government and I'm interested in leading my people somewhere, there's little platforms that you tick boxes. You come out with a plan, a strategy, and wait, just you got to execute, right?
Yeah, I agree.
A lot of comments here. Rashida Godwin says there's never a right time, and we will continue to find excuses and reasons not to. When will we finally be adults? Interesting.
Yeah.
Sean Smith.
Nor will Bermuda aim to be a republic or a member of the Commonwealth, which will keep our ties to the crown.
Well, I think step one would be Commonwealth. Step two would be republic. That's what Barbados done. That's what I think Jamaica's aiming to be a republic. I'm not sure if it has to be in steps. I don't know if it has to be in steps.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure also.
I believe that yeah. Sean Smith, what I will say to that is I don't know the answer, but I'm pretty sure if we're gonna head that road, many would appreciate taking one step at a time. Charles H. Jefferson II and Larry Marshall Sr. used to say this very often to people. For those who came against Bermudians against the draft for advocating non-voting. For those who don't know, Charles H. Jefferson II says the former leader of the PLP told the supporters to boycott that referendum despite independence being part of its PLP constitution. I believe that leader.
What about the forefathers that fought for the right to vote? Okay, I'm sorry, I had to. Sorry, folks, I'm back.
That's what we used to say. People would say when we were calling for Bermudians to boycott voting elections, they'd say, "Oh, well, our forefathers fought for the right to vote, but y'all were told not to vote during the referendum." I mean, by the leader of the day.
Different forefathers.
Folks, when will be the right time for Bermuda to consider independence? Sam Cat Place says, we can change our minds, but not with that leadership. Get our economy right. Independence will make it worse. What will make it worse? What would be different? That's what I guess I always hear this, but what would be different economically if we were independent versus not?
I think the first thing people look at is the countries that went independent and it didn't work out in their sense of workout. If you look at, and I'm just calling off because this was Haiti, the first one to go, and the economic situation. And I think they always look for that worst case scenario as far as you know, if the island will end up that way as far as the money type, if you got what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I mean, and again, I think it's almost short-sighted a bit, because I think we look at the countries who've done worse off, not the countries who've done well.
Right.
And also we don't consider those countries are not in that position because they went independent. It's deeper than that. And I think
Yes.
people don't think beyond the surface. Charles H. Jefferson II says, I agree with Larry. We should be looking to educate the people of Bermuda about what an independence would look like. One shouldn't wait until we're on the cusp of independence before considering. Again, I think that may happen because, in my opinion, I think that independence for Bermuda might come from King Charles just saying, look, what's it with these territories? How do they benefit us at this point? Seriously,
Yeah.
I mean, does it? Michelle White says, with the knowledge that Britain can kick us out or give us up, then we need a plan. We are doing ourselves an injustice to wait for crap to hit the fan and be caught with our pants down. Planning is key. That is my issue. I don't disagree, Michelle White. I don't disagree. Renee Simmons says we should always consider independence. Bermuda has previously been in a far better position to gain sovereignty. Now is not the time with the debt we're in and the instability of this country. Philip Trott says, had this conversation on Twitter the other day, Jamel. Someone expressed the fear of unknown, and it reminded me exactly of enslaved, afraid to leave the plantation. Daniel says Bermuda's population is sophisticated enough to be independent, but that is not all that it takes. 60,000 opinions, no consensus. Try to dance without consensus. Well,
The comments are varying. I like it, to be honest.
I think independence is probably a bigger conversation in Bermuda than the two political parties, because I think Michelle White's comment about getting caught with your pants down as a country, I think that the consensus among us this morning is that we should all be considering independence. We should all be preparing for independence. Does that mean we should go independent? Does that mean everybody should be for independence? No. But what you want to do is be prepared for that day should it come.
And to piggyback on that, Jamal, I think that if you don't actually know what role Britain and the Crown has in Bermuda, find out. We referenced conscription earlier. That is when I learned so much about what the daily runnings that the Crown and Britain has over our through the courts, and really it was through the courts for a lot. And it's like, no, it's you're going against the governor, like you are going against the highest representative to Britain, that's in Bermuda. I wasn't going against the local premier to Supreme Court or whatnot. So find out exactly what they have above you, how it works.
But I think you're absolutely correct. I think most of us don't understand what self-governing is versus what the UK actually has responsibility for, something that simple.
Yeah.
I don't think we've cared enough. And back to the comment, I don't think we're educated enough on how things operate as a territory of the UK. But let's bring Maya in. We've got to bring Maya in before we get in trouble. And then we're going to have Antoine Jones. We're talking about, and I love conversations like this, a young entrepreneur that went through the BEDC's entrepreneur program. And we've got a good show, folks. But keep sharing your comments. This is a never-ending conversation, the longest premier, and I believe at this point, David Burt's the second longest premier. Having seems to be differing thoughts on Bermuda and its independence or becoming a sovereign state. So let's bring Maya Palacio in for the news break, and Antoine Jones after that.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Maya Palacio, and this is the Daily Hour News Break brought to you by People's Pharmacy.
Oh, good morning, Maya. How are you?
I'm pretty good. You guys got me kind of excited with the conversation about independence. It's always a topic of conversation. I remember having this big town hall meeting about it maybe 4 or 5 years ago at the Union Building, and it was really heated and very interesting discussions about how it'll work, what would happen, things like that. And I wish I had my notes on that, but that was like such a long time ago. But yeah.
Yeah, and I asked that because I know that younger people seem to have opinions on it. I know that you may sometimes put polls on your social media and get opinions on it, but I'm always interested to hear from younger Bermudians of voting age, to hear their thoughts and just to kind of grasp whether they actually have an understanding of what independence is and what it means for Bermuda. So I think it's an interesting conversation. Have you done a poll on it on your social media?
I have, probably around the same time that I went to that meeting. So probably it's time for a new updated one. But I have seen recent polls put up on Twitter among people in my age group. So I'm just like checking in on that to see where people's mindsets are as well. So haven't done a recent one as of yet, but I do remember the same type of questions that are being like asked here was the same type of ones that were asked like years ago. So I'm even thinking clearly there needs to be more knowledge out there, education out there, actually explaining what would happen if Bermuda was to go independent, like tomorrow, like what exactly would happen. And I think that's a story I'm going to probably try to chase.
Yeah.
Right.
I know, the former Premier Alex Scott had led a commission on it, so I know there's information out there should people want it. All right, Maya, what you got in the news for us today? It was a long weekend. What you got?
It was a long weekend, and I just have a quick recap for everyone as to what actually went down. So on Friday, you may have noticed that some lights went out in the city, basically mainly because there was a road collision and a major impact on persons' lights occurred. Many people lost their lights. Spelco released a report of an accident resulting in a downed pole from a road obstruction. So that happened on Friday, and they actually said in their press release that the first foremost, the top priority in this situation is to ensure the safety of the members of the public. And it's unfortunate that a commercial vehicle was in an accident, which resulted in electricity being out for a lot of the customers.
Interesting. Was that on? Where was that accident?
South Shore Road.
Sure.
Yeah, that was Friday.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I folks, be safe out there. That's all I'll say. And I thought I saw a picture where it was a truck that took the line down. I always think those are the most dangerous kind of accidents because live power. Whew, yeah, be careful. What else?
The first thing I thought about was if I was running on the street and that was happening.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's one of my biggest for electrocution. What else you got for us, man?
Yeah, I can even say I was at the pet store and the lights were flickering because of that accident. Next, on Saturday, the police confirmed that 62-year-old that was found lying on the ground with a head injury in Pembroke on Thursday, on the 15th of September, was Mr. Randall Walker. And at last check, which was on Saturday, he remains in the hospital's intensive care unit. And they're still looking for members of the community who may have seen something, who may have known something of where Mr. Randall was during that time to come forward and give them more information to help them investigate.
Yeah, definitely sending healing energy to Mr. Walker and his family, hoping that he pulls through and is able to have the quality of life necessary to continue living as he was.
And then you'll see coming up on Sunday, shortly after 11 a.m., police received a number of reports. I'm sure everyone heard this, of an altercation involving several individuals during a private event at the Royal Bermuda Regiment headquarters in Warwick. A 35-year-old male sustained non-life-threatening stab wounds to the leg during the incident. A 62-year-old female was left with swelling to her head, as well as bruising to her arms and legs. Both victims were attended by EMTs at the scene and transported to the hospital for further treatment.
So this was a private event at the Warwick camp facility?
Yes. According to the police report, it was a private event, and the police are asking for those who may actually have video footage of what actually happened and occurred to please reach out as well.
You're gonna ruin it. They're not gonna allow you to have any more private events at establishments if this was happening. So hopefully all individuals involved are okay, and we can love, learn, and grow from things like this. What else you got for us, Maya? I know there was some other activities. Come on now, give it to me.
Well, on some positive news, there was the Bermuda Seafood Festival up in St. George's, and I was actually there in attendance. I could definitely say it was very hot, very crowded, and they're actually quite shocked at the numbers. I have a video, so we could play that now.
So this is the very first seafood festival in St. George's, but to my knowledge, ever.
What did you find to be a major accomplishment about this event today?
Wow, I would say the fact that we were expecting like 600 to 800 and we're over 2,000 people, and the time is 3:30. Awesome. And we still got another 2.5 hours to go. Yeah, that has blown me away. And then the other thing has been the Corporation of St. George's staff. Phenomenal. I have been in the events business for over 20 years, and I have worked with some excellent setup crews. These guys bar none.
I just want to say I am actually happy that they are putting on events like this finally. I have been a proponent of Chowder Fest and Rum Fest and just doing things differently in Bermuda. My hope is that these events, locals support them and they become things that draw tourists in years to come. Obviously, new events are not necessarily going to draw people to the island, but the more things you have like this, the more. Now, let's just hope they grow to the point we have enough food and, vendors there that can improve Bermuda's space as a tourism destination.
Yeah, it was a lot of topics and talks around the discussion because obviously it was very huge. There was a lot of business going on in St. George's, which is great. But again, they expected low numbers, and I believe they said they expected it because it was the first time. But to have over 2,000 people actually show up to the event, yes, the vendors did run out of food. It was quite packed. Obviously, a lot of seating areas were not available. So they definitely know for next year, just stretch it out, make it bigger. All the restaurants are completely filled. So it was good to see so many people out, but definitely more preparation will be needed for next year.
All right. What else for us? Tell us the weather's good because they tell me someone named Fiona's lurking.
Yeah, it's just coming around. That's no joke. People do expect it to be a lot more harsh than the last one that we had with Hurricane Earl. Today is still meant to still be like sunny, maybe a little bit of showers, but Thursday's forecast, we're dropping in like 10% temperatures, and we're going to have the harshest, strongest winds around Thursday evening leading up to Friday morning. So, just look out for that. There might be like changes in, transport with traffic or even businesses being operations. So just stay up to date with that. You can look at it at weather.bm or, continue watching with us tomorrow morning.
All righty.
They always come overnight, right? Like it's never 3 o'clock in the afternoon to like.
Nah, it's gonna be ended right before we have to go to work,
Saying, Mother Nature knows what she's doing, folks. That's what she's doing. Anything else, Maya? You good?
That's it for the news for me today. Hope everyone stays safe. Obviously, as the hurricane approaches, just get yourself super prepared and ready for it. And obviously, every single day I'm gonna say this: just be careful on those roads. Take it easy. Take it slow. You are not in a rush to go anywhere. Better to be late than to not arrive at all. Okay.
Absolutely. What you got days of the year for us, sir?
I do, and I think it's very timely for Bermuda right now. Today is Get Ready Day. Join together with your community, family, or simply yourself to figure out what to do in an emergency of any kind and be ready for whatever comes. And I just think that, right now we're hoping that Fiona keeps this distance. We know we're going to get something, but we don't want to see the eye and get all close with that.
No.
But I think preparation is key, and being prepared for an emergency will help us all as a community.
Indeed. Maya, thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
All right.
All right.
Maya Palacio, folks. A lot of net news break. A lot. We've got Antoine Jones coming up. He's going to be talking about his experience in the entrepreneur program. So do not go anywhere. A lot more conversation to have on today's Daily Hour.
Let's face it, life can be a little wild, but shopping doesn't have to be. I choose Peoples, so that whether it's a prescription that needs to be filled, a toy for my little terror, or a gift for a new addition to the family, we'll see about that. Everything's available in one convenient location. Some call it Peoples, I call it my one-stop shop in the city. Peoples, we're here for you.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick, tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
Mom's celebrating her 70th birthday next month. Have you noticed her age is catching up with her?
Yeah. Plus, she's having a hard time getting up and around like she's used to. I would sure hate to see her fall.
At Medical House Limited, we can help make life situations easier. We have electric beds, motorized scooters, bath stools, walkers, you name it.
Mom's been real good to us. We'll get her birthday and Christmas gifts from Medical House.
Medical House has relocated next to the Dendy Town Field, number 6 Bakery Lane, Pembroke. Telephone 292-3622.
Hey TDH community, we're excited to announce our first private shopping experience just for you. There will be huge discounts, giveaways, specials, and more. Not a member? Register today at thedailyhour.com. All right, welcome back to the big show. Larry Marshall Jr. I'm Jamal Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by Medical House, One Communications, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed on our website, thedailyhour.com, for a chance. Well, you don't want to miss updates, promotions, prizes, and more. As you just saw, we are having our first private shopping night full of discounts for you. You need toilet paper, you need paper towels, some essentials. You don't want to miss this, but you have to be registered as a TDH community member to actually be a part of those things. So make sure you check that out. Also, if you're not able to watch us, and let's say you're driving and you want to listen, just download the BCG Radio app and you can listen to us every single time we go live. All right, without further ado, let's bring in our guest for the day. We've got an entrepreneur in his house, Mr. Antoine Jones. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the show.
Yes, good morning. A pleasure to be here. How are you doing this morning?
Morning.
We're good. We're good. We're good. You know, just hoping that Bermudians are playing it smart and safe as Hurricane Fiona comes on board. You know, that's in the area. We need to make smart decisions, you know?
This is it.
All righty. So basically, you're an entrepreneur. You were part of the BDC program this summer. Just explain to the audience, what kind of business do you actually own?
Sure. So yes, it was a pleasure to be a part of the Summer Student Entrepreneur Program with BDC. I actually am in the space of retail and commerce. So I do it's a clothing brand, which also underneath it is Capsule, which is designer, vintage, custom clothing. So we turn like jeans into like, let's say, a side bag. So really just keeping clothes alive. And instead of having that one use, we really push for sustainability.
Mm-hmm. So different from what I learned from Bermuda is Love last week was fast fashion, which is some other brands where you purchase clothes for low and whatever. This is sustainable, like turning things like almost like recycling clothes in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. So like vintage clothing, even let's say designer clothing, it may not be new, some may be new, but we really just want to extend the life of it and really just push the message of you don't have to wear something once, or it doesn't have to be new for you to wear it like it's new, right? We're fashionable people in Bermuda, I find.
I like this idea, actually. When you first started talking, I was like, okay, clothing. You know, I'm thinking so many Bermudian start lines. It's 4 for 1 this, 4 for 1 that. But this is actually, it sounds eco-friendly. That's the term I'm looking for. What made you decide? I mean, we all have ideas. So many people have ideas. I want to be an entrepreneur. My colleague Sancha just said last week, everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, right? But what made you decide to actually execute and become one?
Most definitely. Well, firstly, it's good to see people actually taking the initiative on ideas. You know, it always starts with an idea. A lot of the things we use, even this technology that we're using now. But I would say initially, it was just the whole approach of the access to fashion here in Bermuda. I was afforded the ability to study overseas in Canada, in Toronto for a bit, and that completely broadened my perspective on the way that we consume clothing and also create. So while I was there, I started a line called Distinct Collectives. And underneath that, I started to learn to sew. I would do a bit of vintage shopping as well myself. And I was like, there's nothing like this back home. There's no really experience where you can go through where you can maybe find something that's, you know, brand new and it just hasn't been worn before, or you can find something that stands you out from the crowd, if that makes sense. So I kind of saw that need for it as well as the availability to introduce something new, and I just said, why not? Let's go for it.
I like that key point. You saw a need for it, and it wasn't just something that you wanted to do. It was something that you saw a need for. That once you saw that need, you kind of move forward, and that's how businesses should work. That's how you actually get longevity and stay in business. So congratulations to you on doing that. Why? So you've done all that, right? You've come up with the idea. You began executing. You found a need for it. Why did you sign up to join the Bermuda Economic Development Corporation's Summer Student Entrepreneur Program?
Well, for me, this was really just perfect timing. I had actually heard about the program through a friend who had done it last year, and I saw what they had went through. I saw how inclusive it was for a Bermudian to network with other Bermudians who wanted to start up a business, as well as just the strong foundation that they provided. I saw that a lot of people who had businesses in the community were working with BEDC as well too. So I said, let's just put myself out there and open myself up to the opportunity and see what goes from it. And really, it was an amazing experience being able to have a retail space in the city of Hamilton in the mall, as well as being able to sell at Harbor Nights. It was a game changer, and it really gave me some more exposure to the public that I wouldn't get if I was just, say, like selling on Instagram or just trying to go on the side of the street and sell, if that makes sense.
If you have any questions or comments for Antoine Jones, please share them through. And I really hope that, people who are tuned in that may know some young people who are thinking of doing businesses, or just think of this, because what I like about what he's doing, Bert, is he's not just creating a clothing line. He's not just selling clothing. He's actually being very creative with it. He's turning those jeans into a purse kind of. It's really interesting, and I like the concept. Sometimes you have to go one step further to really be creative and find that pocket of space that may be missing in a sector. Go ahead, Bert.
Yeah, I'm gonna break away real fast. I'm just gonna say check Antoine. I remember Antoine from Whitney Institute. You came from Francis Baton, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and to see where you have gone, and folks, this is the proud moment for public school. He went to Whitney, and I believe Cedar Bridge at the end, and to sit her, to hear him, Barkley. Yes, I'm sorry, to see him sitting here talking about entrepreneurship and the way how he's articulating himself all through Bermuda's public school system. So a lot of times we get this bad rap and saying this, that, and the other. Folks, this right here, right now, is a product of what public school can produce. Let me get back before I get in trouble, right, Antoine? But no, it's very good to hear you talking like this. But what were some of the key takeaways for you from this program?
Most definitely. Some of the key takeaways I would say would be your vision initially, right? Whether that's anything in life. If you don't have a goal in mind, how can you score? So initially it was vision and writing down something like where I saw myself in 1, 2, 3 years, what impact that I wanted to have with this business, and also opportunities creating from it. I would say secondly, it would be having a strong foundation. So having that strong foundation of BEDC, as well as the environment of other young entrepreneurs around me, really motivated me to want to do this and to keep pushing forward and doing this as well too. And then also just the importance of dreaming big, right? So sometimes we always have this moment in ourselves where we're fighting and pulling back, and can I do this? Should I do this? Really, it's just taking that initial step. If it's something that you love and something that you enjoy, surprise yourself, like dream big. You never know how much you can accomplish.
Okay, so this kind of ties into my next part, and I'm gonna put you on the spot. What would you say to young entrepreneurs like yourself? Go back to like when you first walked through the doors of Whitney when I met you. What would you give a young person, a 13-year-old, 14-year-old that's looking to be an entrepreneur?
I would say don't be afraid to start. It's always that first step that could take you somewhere that you never know. And what I've come to learn is sometimes those moments where you don't feel the most comfortable, like let's say making that speech in front of your whole school because your principal asked you to, or something small, just as like, okay, I don't really play football, let me try out for the team this year, or anything along that nature. But just taking that first step, you never really know how much can come out of it until you try. And that's really what I say. Like some of my biggest some of my biggest wins have been because I put myself out there to lose, if that makes sense. Sometimes you have to miss 100 shots before you perfect it, and you can make every shot after that. So really, it's just taking that first step and then just building on it from there.
Nice.
If you have any questions or comments for Antoine Jones, send them through. Michelle White, her audio had dropped out, so she's asking, where does the clothing that you refabricate into other items come from? She said she may have missed.
Sure. So this is a question that I do get frequently, but right now I'm sourcing from Canada, primarily because I was in Canada. I was able to see the warehouse where I'm getting this from. I shop with a warehouse and a wholesaler called Street Culture. I actually was one of these guys' first customers. They're young men around the same age around me as well too, and they do vintage clothing. And I started shopping with them for about 3 years now. And then I told them, look, I have this idea. I'm from Bermuda, a place where we don't really have access to this much clothing. It would be amazing if we could start to provide this access, right? So primarily from Canada right now. I'm looking to push into other countries as well too, to source, but that's where it's coming from at the moment.
And, are there any opportunities in Bermuda? Let's say, I know Bermuda is loved. They were encouraging people not to shop and do fast fashion. And a term I just learned. I'm going to be honest with you. I just learned it last week or before. But are there any opportunities with organizations in Bermuda to kind of say, instead of throwing away, because, sustainability is key to a small island like Bermuda. Are there any opportunities to say, hey, Larry, don't throw that away. You can bring it here. We can turn it into something that maybe we can turn into some clothing for your son or something like that. Other opportunities like that you're looking into?
I would say this is definitely something that I'm looking into, even if it's as simple as having like a donation bin and allowing people to drop clothes, and then I can get them to the right people after that. For example, organizations like Bermuda is Love. So I really feel like it can be partnerships or just individuals who are having their own movement who can come together and start working to, let's say, propel these initiatives, if that makes sense, because we're very fashionable people in Bermuda. An event comes around, we're always looking for clothing, we're always looking to be the best, look the flyest, but let's also take care of the environment as well too, and also think about some people who are a little bit less fortunate, like who would want access to these clothes and maybe would not only wear it once if they had the opportunity to shop like this as well.
I've seen so many people for years start things and then just get bored of them. What motivates you to keep going, and what's your overall goal with what you're doing right now? Where do you want this to go?
So I would say for me, we always find motivation within different things, right? So like for some people at one moment, it may be money. For some people, it may be the impact that they see from it. For me, my motivation really just stems from wanting to create opportunities for others as well too, because it's easy to do a kickflip when you see someone else already do it, right? So for me, I'm trying to be the person who does the kickflip and encourages other people to, let's say, try something new. So the motivation really just stems from really wanting this, and it's something that I love to do. I'm a graphic designer. I really just am into things with clothing and just creating things. So it's just my form of expression, and that's just what keeps me going, if that makes sense. And seeing the impact from it is really all the motivation that I need.
Yeah. A young entrepreneur like yourself that has not necessarily, made the progress they'd like to, what would you say to them about signing up for the BEDC Summer Entrepreneur Program? Why would you tell them to sign up?
I would say, really, it's the foundation, right? Sometimes we just need that push. I would even say I even needed that myself. So just having that foundation of, okay, you really get a breakdown of what it's like to be an entrepreneur, some ways that you can improve organization. You get a strong network of other individuals who are entrepreneurs themselves. There's plenty of people within the BDC organization who have businesses who can point you in the right direction, or just give you a connection or networking opportunity with someone else who can completely change your life in terms of how the opportunities they can offer to you, or in terms of just like the advice that they could give to you. So I would say really it's just putting yourself out there. The program is an amazing opportunity to just tap into your idea and fully expand it from there. The world is your oyster. Really, it's if you take advantage of the opportunities, you can make it grow for you from there.
Yeah, I have a question real fast. When it comes to clothing right now, I know it's usually geared for the younger groups. Are you just aiming for a younger group, or do you of all ages?
So with the vintage clothing, primarily it's aimed at around 16 to 25, but we do have pieces that can be worn by anybody. I would say that that's just my target audience because that's around my age. However, when we were fortunate enough to be selling in the Washington Mall, we have brands like as far as Tommy Hilfiger, we have Gap, we have some more designer brands as well too. So it's a span of items and it's a range of clothing. So you might just walk in and find something that you like, even if you're a bit older, even if you're a bit younger too. Have like a Mickey Mouse t-shirt as well, Rick and Morty shirt. So since it's vintage, it ranges so far, and I really would say it depends on the style of the individual. I don't want to limit it to a box per se and say it's only for young people.
Okay. Because Jamal's a little older, and we've got to make sure his style is. You got what I'm saying?
Of course, everyone's got to be fly.
all it takes is a shirt and pair of pants. They ain't got to match. They just got to make sure I'm covered and get where I need to go, brother. Style needed. But Antoine, thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation. Really seems like you're onto something. And as I stated, and I mean it when I say it, I'm not going to say it once you leave behind your back. So many people have come out with, clothing lines, clothing brands, as I stated, 4 for 1 this, 4 for 1 that, Bermuda this, Bermuda that. But I think what you're doing is taking it to a level that really could give you some longevity through sustainability. So congratulations on taking that additional step. And please know that we'll be sending you some of Larry's clothes so that you can turn them into something for his son. Oh yeah, I'm serious. Hey, look, that's my godson. We hand-me-downs is how we came up, bro.
Yep, this is it.
We're gonna trust your instinct and your style to turn some things into something. So thank you, man, and appreciate what you're doing and all the best going forward.
I very much appreciate it. Thank you for having me on the show as well, and we'll definitely keep in touch.
All right, no problem.
We'll make sure we get some of those pieces done as well too, some customs in.
All right.
Sounds good. Have a great one. All right. Antoine Jones, folks. If you appreciated that conversation, give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Awesome, young man. I always find you and Phil always taught these amazing young people in our public education system as well, folks. So we're going to take a quick break, come back, wrap it up. We might do a giveaway. Well, we are going to do a giveaway because we're going to address this weekend's question on the Daily Hours Facebook page. A lot of you were cheating. And you still got it wrong. Still got it wrong. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this.
A lot happens around your home. That is why at One Communications, we have introduced affordable security and video monitoring, because everyone should be able to afford to protect their family. Anytime, from anywhere, One Home Security keeps you connected and puts security in your hands with an easy-to-use smartphone app to control everything. Home security is important to keep you and your family safe. Motion-activated cameras around your home and security monitoring within create a complete security system providing protection both inside and outside your home. Professional monitoring means that there's someone on call with 24/7 protection to notify the authorities and help keep you and your loved ones safe. We are dedicated to whole home protection with indoor and outdoor cameras, smart door locks, motion sensors, and more, so you'll always be connected to what matters most. With professional installation, no upfront hardware fees, and low monthly rates, because keeping your family safe should be affordable for everyone. Total home video monitoring and security, there's no better way to protect your home than with One Home Security.
I'm part of the SSCP, giving us opportunities to go out and sell, which is what I'm doing today.
One of the most important things I learned in the SSCP is that failure is just a part of being an entrepreneur.
As a vocal community, then you can't go anywhere, can you? I just believe it's a really beautiful and amazing experience for everybody.
A lot of late nights being up trying to finalize things, especially for me.
You don't have to do everything at once. Little steps is the key to success. They helped me go through every step of the way.
It has helped me gain more confidence, so that's one thing.
I'm Marley Spriggs, and I am an entrepreneur.
My name is Joshua Allen, and I am an entrepreneur.
My name is Trey Robertson Richards, and I am an entrepreneur. My name is Namira Rayner, and I am an entrepreneur.
My name is Vincent Darrell, and I am an entrepreneur.
I'm Shayla Swan, and I'm an entrepreneur. I am Sophia Paxenhan. I am an entrepreneur.
My name is Zion, and I'm a young entrepreneur.
Alrighty, welcome back to the big show. Thanks again to One Communications and People's Pharmacy, Medical House Lenders for ensuring we're able to do this with you. Thanks again to Antoine Jones. Again, if you appreciate the conversation, give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. So there was a question on our social media, Facebook, that asked, of the three listed, which was myself, Sherry, and Phil, which of us did not attend college in Huntsville, Alabama?
I knew the answer.
Only 5 people got the answer right. And of those 5, 3 of them are disqualified because they were my sister, my aunt, and a very close friend. But I was absolutely shocked because I've mentioned on this show more than once, numerous times, and some of the people who answered have been in those conversations. But the answer to the question is no, it's not Phil. Phil did not attend school in Huntsville, Alabama. The only 2 of those were Sherry and myself. So the answer is Sherry and myself. So now I will share with you, there's only 2 people eligible to win, so we will have to give them the prize because we can't give it to my family, right? That would just be unfair. But yes, folks, the answer to the question, when I first left Bermuda in 2001 to go to school, I went to J.F. Drake State Technical College in Huntsville, Alabama, just down the street from Alabama A&M. Now, so a lot of you cheated, went on my LinkedIn page to see, right? I saw you, right? LinkedIn tells you who goes on your profile. Some of you went on my LinkedIn page to see, and once you didn't see that college listed, you said, oh, Phil. See, cheaters never win. Win. You see what they did there, bro? They went on there.
I think it's more so using the resources. It's just like if you was looking up something for a test.
Oh, this is true. This is true. Research is necessary. Actually, I take that back. You're doing more research than those with the loudest opinions these days. Unfortunately, like a Bermuda government institution, all the information was not there for you to retrieve. Alrighty. Oh, that's enough. All right, so time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Heineken 0.0, great taste, no alcohol, and Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. Burp, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Easy question right here, folks. Easy question. Let me get my music ready because these folks like to show off lately. Bermuda's national football team played in the Gold Cup for the first time in what year?
2018 or 19? 2018. 2019?
All righty. He got it. 2019 it was. Yeah. I mean, you can't say Pat Sajak's not letting you, like, you have to say the right answer. Is that your final answer, I guess?
Well, my process, if you haven't realized yet, is to narrow it down. If you want to learn, if you have a multiple choice, you get rid of all this stuff and you narrow it down, and then you pick the best answer you feel.
Well, you narrow it down in your head. I mean, you know, it's like the
SAT. It's the way how I process, Mr. Hartman. I say it out loud.
Oh, you'll be kicked out the room in the SAT, sir. Luckily,
this ain't America.
It's not
sovereignty over here.
Oh, speaking about sovereignty, what's your final thoughts on today's show?
When with result talks to the sovereignty or independence piece, folks, just educate yourself, find out what's really going on. And again, I think it's always a time to consider it, even if you don't even necessarily think that right now is going. With respect to the BEDC summer program and Mr. Jones, we always like when we have young entrepreneurs, and I think the BEDC is doing a great job in actually having an avenue for people to put themselves out there. And I like what talked about of just doing a start. You know what I mean? Half the times you won't know if you're gonna fail if you don't start. So it's good words, and I'm proud of the young man.
Yeah, indeed. As far as sovereign state, again, I think independence should always be on the table as a consideration. It should never be something that's not considered. Your freedom, your ability to self-govern. What you're saying is that you don't trust yourself to take care of yourself, and you don't. I understand the concerns against independence. I get it. I actually support those concerns. But that, folks, it's like a relationship. I've said this on the show before. People will only do what they're allowed to do. That's why there's laws, there's rules, there's boundaries. Your government's only doing what you've allowed them to do.
Mm-hmm.
So if your excuse is that we shouldn't be considering independence because of the state we're in, that's on each of us. That's on each of us. As far as Antoine Jones, again, this is, let me be clear. It's not a criticism of anyone who started a clothing line 441 or Bermuda this, Bermuda that. It's not a criticism. But I made a tweet yesterday, and I want to share that to end this, because it's a timely tweet based on that comment that I said to Mr. Jones. But the tweet, I said, that idea that you have, someone has likely already tried it, failed at it, done it, succeeded at it, or may have a big budget to do even bigger. None of that should discourage you from doing it your way and doing it the best. Stay focused and keep pushing. Meaning, there are many people with clothing lines doing different things, but what's going to separate you from the rest? And I think Mr. Jones is onto something in separating what he does from others. You got some daily inspiration for us, Bert?
I do, and it kind of ties in. This is from the author Angela Duckworth. I actually read a book Grit that she penned. It was very good. And she says, as much as talent counts, effort counts twice.
I like that one. It goes back to Connor Smith last year. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of talented people. But how many going to put in the work?
Hundreds of clothing companies.
Yeah.
Well, businesses, you know what I mean? How much can put in the work?
Indeed.
News, media companies.
Yep. Thanks again to our partners, Medical House One Communications, Lenders, and People's Pharmacy, for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you. We love you. We thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. He's Larry Marshall Jr. I'm Jamal Hartman, my friends. Make it a safe and great day. We are out. Peace, my friends.